Thanks for checking out this highlight from Epic Loot Radio. If you enjoyed this highlight, be sure to click the top link in the description to watch the full podcast. But now, on to the show. So they say, here's our Final Fantasy XV crossover. At launch, we're going to offer themed cosmetic items across a variety of categories, visually on par with the endgame gear, such as themed apparel and weapon skins, themed skins that can be applied to existing apparel, or weapons that change your visual style, housing decor, pouches and decks, emotes, which we've seen, die packs, which we've seen, company crests. New designs will be available to store, personalize your company's insignia. We won't consider selling anything other than cosmetic items until 2022 at the earliest, so probably most likely a year. I'm going to say this, though, like what Chili said. Like, at least they're saying this. At least it's not like, we promise we'll never, ever even think about something that will make you unhappy. We promise. Because then in a year's time, it's like, at least for somebody who's trying to decide that their $40 is worth it, at least that we can say, hey, this is what they've said. Go ahead, Rory.
So this comes out on the 31st of August, right?
Yes.
I seem to remember that date. So this is what, 5 months?
5-6 months, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's 5 months. So it's like 5 months, we unleash. It goes. Monetization goes. Brrr, all the monies.
Well, depending on also how the game is received, that's very well possible, right? Because I would say that if nothing else, New World devs have shown that they are listening, they're applying feedback, they're working and having that level of communication. That can easily go awry, right? Like, we can sit here and say, we've said it on the show numerous times, gamers will optimize the fun out of anything. Like whales, if they end up funneling like and driving the game comes out, it's just there, right? It just exists. Nobody's really playing it, but the people who are playing it are spending lots of money, therefore driving the game in a direction that it might never recover from, in theory. Like, we don't really know, because again, those sparkly wing pink unicorn, outfits that then vastly contrast with what they were like, their original vision, could be interesting to see. 2 more sections and then we'll dive back in, because I want to get some more thoughts. And also, guys, we posted the link. It looks like we actually have some people kind of funneling into the chat here. I'll kind of post the link again if you want to join us live, and we'll see here. Just have a decent mic, and we'll go from there. All right. Maintain a level playing field. The in-game store content will not give players an advantage in PvE or PvP gameplay. Our goal is to not provide anything that players will find pay to win for in-game store offers. Now, no items in the store will give players instant lifts to their overall gear score, experience points, or impact territory control. No item in the store is to gate the experience game mechanics. Players should never feel like they have to spend additional money to experience New World once they've purchased the game as a price to pay at launch, and it lets you play the entire released game themselves. They want to embrace veterans and welcome in new arrivals. MMOs live off the blood of the sprout, right? Like, if you don't have new people coming into your persistent world game, it becomes rather desolate rather quickly. But let's go ahead and talk about it. While the tournament will be full of veteran players, we anticipate new players landing on its shores for years to come. Well, after launch, we will consider ideas for items that influence mechanics like rested XP, both through the store and earned in-game. This would allow late to the game players entering a tournament to catch up at a pace most comfortable for them and fight alongside their friends in in-game content. While we're not creating a pay-to-win environment, the more players that are able to experience endgame content and participate in endgame modes, the healthier the game experience will be. The timing on when we release any sort of boost would depend on player sentiment, feedback, and how we see new players progressing through the game well after launch. If we decide to implement these types of items, they will also be obtainable through in-game methods. Does allowing you to attain the same items in a cash shop help, or does it? Or are you neutral, or do you hate it? What do you think? We'll start with Chili.
I feel like, okay, I'm going to add this, right? They keep saying rested XP being sold.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is not rested XP. This is, in fact, XP boosters more than anything. Rested XP is when you've logged off and you're away for a couple of days or a little bit of time, and then you log back in, and that's rested XP. This is just buying a booster pack.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically an XP multiplier. I can't say I'm 100% against it because I played Warframe and I spent money on boosters on Warframe.
Well,
So I can't
again,
exactly...
the question though is that like if you can still get the boosters by playing the game, like in my mind, like 14, you got gear that you play and it gives you boosted experience. Same thing is that you pre-order, you can get an item that will boost your experience. That it's like you can still go and get a similar item in the game by going and actually playing the game itself. It's not. And
Well,
it also
not
doesn't. It
really.
also doesn't work past a certain level. So it's not like boosters would ever help cover that gap. Let's say, they decide to raise the level cap at some point. Boosters are ineffective. So people can try to race. Because people enjoy races in these kind of games. So that way you're not sitting here saying like, well, I better be buying up boosters so that I can close that gap in the race itself. But
it sounds like they might do that, to be honest, from that though.
Yeah.
To me, for starters, I think it's quite arrogant of them to just say, "Oh, Eternum is going to be full of veteran players." They're like, "Our game's going to be super successful." Like, it's like for starters, that's a little bit arrogant. But besides that, when it comes to items being sold in a store and in game, I have not one word, but like one system for that, and that is the Diablo 3 auction house that literally destroyed that game. Mm-hmm. Like single-handedly, the implementation of an auction house made that game so bad that it was the only Diablo game that I didn't really reach maximum difficulty on release because I just stopped playing because it wasn't fun. Yeah. Because when you implement something like that on a store, you're going to balance the dropping of the item in the game to be a lot more rare to make sure that the item that's in the store is valuable. That's exactly what they did to loot. And that's why when Reaper of Souls came out, then they were like, okay, we implemented Loot 2.0, we took away the auction house, now everything's good. That's when the game started being good again. And that's the problem. It's like, it doesn't matter if the item is available in store and available in game, because every single time, either the developers or someone from marketing or someone from sales will come in and say, make that thing drop less to get people to buy it in the store. Every single time, every single developer, every single time. Mm-hmm. It never changes. It literally never changes. So that I completely...
Good, Chili?
Sorry. And you brought up the Final Fantasy XIV thing, but really, that's only from up to level 25, isn't it? And then
the current one is
80.
Yeah, the current the earring that's about a pre-order goes up to 80. So they've had a couple different pieces of gear.
And if you go to Boja, there's an achievement reward for 1,000 turn-ins, where you get an XP earring, which is 70 to 80.
Yeah.
But that's only 10% XP versus 30% from the pre-order. So
it's less valuable basically. Yeah, even in 14, it's less valuable. But the point here is, to me, is like they're looking to monetize a problem that they haven't even run into yet. So like, I'm pretty sure that Realm Reborn did launch with a level boost and a story skip, right? That probably came in like maybe Stormblood, or was it during Heavensward even? I don't know. You guys,
the level boost came into play, I believe, with Heavensward.
I thought it was the end of Heaven. Like
it wasn't at the launch at Heavensward, but it was like, yeah.
Okay, so it's like these guys already like there's gonna be a problem in this game. They know there's a problem. They're not even thinking about a creative solution to that problem. They're just like, oh, it's fine. We'll just sell a boost and they'll skip it. It's like, no, you should be creating value in that content. That content should be valuable to players. Whereas, for instance, in 14, sure, they added the thing. The reason they added, in my opinion, is because at that point, they have an established player base. There's new people coming in. They want to play with their friends. I think it's somewhat justifiable because it's a problem they didn't really think ahead.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. That content that is in Final Fantasy 14, in my opinion, is still valuable. Like, I played through Realm Reborn in 2019, and then I played Heavensward, and then I played Stormblood, and then I played Shadowbringers, and all of that content was valuable. The one that was hard to do was Coils, because nobody was running Coils anymore. But other than that, I ran all of the content. I mean, everything. I ran all the raids. I ran all the trials. I ran literally everything there was to run, and I found value in every one of those bits of content. Whereas here is like the first solution they go is like, oh yeah, well, they'll skip it. It's like, skip it. No, create value. Like, either create value or streamline the process in-game as opposed to extorting money out of people. Think of a creative way to do it in-game. Solve this in gameplay somehow.
Yeah.
This is... I don't understand.
I think for me, when you talk about gameplay, the solution is trade. I think essentially that Boosts, if they were tradable, you'd get a drop. You could put it up on the market, and if somebody wants to purchase that boost, they have that, and then they have the option of purchasing it within game or whatever. And if you're going to sell anything to the player, PSO2 does this. Like if you buy something, certain items, there are certain things that are market restricted, of it, like within any game. But if like, oh, somebody bought this and they didn't really ended up wanting it or needing it because it came a part of a package, or their at PSO2's loot box case, it's like, oh, you can actually put that up on the in-game market. So you, the player who's never spent a dime, wants that, you could actually buy it from somebody using in-game currency. And I think essentially having that ability to trade gives the player more choice. You want to play and grind out in the game, you're not cut off from anything else out of there, but somebody is still purchasing that and therefore supporting the game with the development with their money. But that was their choice as well. They know, like, okay, I can do this. There's balancing issues, and I'm not going to sit here and we're not going to like nickel and dime like the every potential balance issue of that idea. But as a simple way of just how I think about it, I go trade. Like, if I get the battle pass that they've kind of talked about, like as ideas that they're kind of thinking through, trying to monetize between the expansions, because they have talked about paid expansions, then it's like, great. All right. If somebody wants to go and purchase something, they get something out of the battle pass that like, I don't really care for that. If they can trade that onto the market and I can choose to purchase it with my in-game gil or gold or whatever they're in it. Like they call it coin right now, but it's like, I wish they would call it doubloons. If I could kind of participate in that economy, it will always help to give value to that in-game economy, thus making it to where it's like, yeah, there's a cycle here that if I want to go do all of this other stuff and I get money for that, I can then decide if I want to engage in that market. Rory, you look like you have a thought on that subject. Thank you so much for checking out this highlight from Epic Loot Radio. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe button, and more. And check out our other channels, Ginger Gaming Radio, Ginger Prime, and Work to Game for more content. Thanks for being here, and you're awesome.